Welcome to Broncos Weekend, presented by Ent Credit Union, the official banking partner of the Denver Broncos.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Broncos Weekend. I am your host and Denver Broncos team reporter, Elisa Hernandez, and we have a special guest in the studio back for another week. We have DenverBroncos.com lead writer Aric DiLalla and, of course, Denver 7's Bradey King. Happy to be back in the Broncos studio. It was a happy flight home from New York. How are we feeling as the Broncos get back to 500?
Well, welcome back to you two, first and foremost. Not only did the team travel, you guys traveled as well. So what better way to come home than with 2 wins from that road trip, right?
That's right. It was a big trip, but got 2 wins. That's all you can ask for back at 500 and ready to keep this thing rolling, hopefully.
Back-to-back wins, like you guys said, and the Broncos and the Raiders are both coming off of wins. How important is this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, this is everything, right? I think for a couple of different reasons. One is it's a division game, right? And Sean Payton talked about this week that you don't see a lot of good teams do things during a season if they aren't able to get a winning record in their division, if they aren't able to put things together. 3-3 in the division last year, have to be better this season, and it starts against the Raiders this weekend.
Yeah, huge, obviously, for playoff seeding and whatnot. So hopefully 3 of the 4 teams are 2-2 in the AFC West right now. Obviously, the Chiefs 4-0, but this is a big game to hopefully separate themselves.
Well, after being on the road 3 out of the 4 weeks to start the season, the Broncos return home for back-to-back home games, obviously starting off against the Raiders. Now, the defense has not let up this season when it comes to getting after the quarterback. The defense sacking Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers 5 times. For context, going into week 4, Rodgers had been sacked 5 times all season. So how do they keep this momentum up going into week 5?
Yeah, I think that this is about the defense as a whole. It's not just the front 7 there. It's the cornerbacks, the secondary playing well. It's Pat Surtain, Riley Moss, Jaquan McMillan, P.J. Locke, Brandon Jones, all those guys on the back end. And then it's Zach Allen, JFM, those guys up front, Nick Bonito, Jonathan Cooper. And when you put all of that together, you end up with a defense that is right near the top of the league. And if they can keep that going against Gardner Minshew and the Raiders, it's going to help them get over the hump and get to 3-2.
Yeah, you can't say enough good things about this Broncos defense. They've been so consistent. They are currently ranked 2nd in total defense, and hopefully they'll be able to keep that up against this Las Vegas Raiders team. The Raiders are coming off their best rushing performance, but throughout this season, they have struggled to run the ball, and they're coming into Denver with a obviously tough defense. And now for the offense, if just they could score a little bit more points, obviously the defense is keeping them in every game and doing what they need to do. And I think the offense is starting to click, which is good news.
Yeah, the Broncos seem to have found their stride in the run game. Head coach Sean Payton talked about how important it is to get that run game going.
The last 2 weeks, we've defended the run better and we've run the ball better. That's one thing that I think is noticeable, and that's encouraging. I just talked about how important the month of October is for teams in our league. You've gotten 4 games kind of on film with everyone, and there's really not this plateau. You're getting better, or it's the other. And so this is an important month of football. And we have to build on that relative to the run game.
We've heard Sean Payton talk all year long about painting this picture for Bo Nix that lets him succeed, helps him find success. If you're running the ball well, you're protecting Bo Nix, that's going to set up the passing game as well. And so it does start on the ground. And if the Broncos can run the ball well against the Raiders, I think you're going to see a Bo Nix performance that's closer to what you saw in Tampa compared to last week in New York.
Absolutely, exactly what you said. I think it will just continue to help Bo Nix. And Javonte Williams looked like his old self in that second half against the Jets, which was fun. He also said after the game that he felt like his old self. And so I think the running game, like you said, Elisa, has started to find its stride and hopefully will only continue to get better.
A big part of that is Alex Palczewski and Quinn Miners. Quinn Miners actually getting the game ball after that win versus the Jets. And you look at what they've been able to do on the offensive line and how Bo Nix has had no turnovers, no sacks, and 0 interceptions in that win on Sunday.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks in a row now where he hasn't been sacked, where this run game has started to get going. Whether it's Alex Palczewski there filling in for Mike McGlinchey, you've got Luke Wattenberg, Quinn Miners, Ben Powers in the middle there, and of course, Bowles over there on the left. This offensive line is starting to play like the offensive line that the Broncos need them to play like, right? And they've talked all offseason about how this rests on us. It's going to be up to us to determine the success of this team. Weeks 3 and 4, I think you saw that from the offensive line, that sort of performance that the Broncos can rely on and can help them earn more wins moving forward.
And Alex Pelchesky, I believe, has been so seamless. Mike McGlinchey, obviously a big voice, a leader, and I believe he's still doing that from the sidelines and in the locker room. But I've been really impressed with Alex, especially in the past week.
With the rookie QB, you have your 2 wide receivers, Josh Reynolds and Courtland Sutton. They have been making big plays, especially week 3 and week 4. How beneficial is that when you have a rookie quarterback still kind of finding his stride? Yeah,
it's what you need from a vet, right? That's what you count on Courtland Sutton for. He's a guy that made those big plays against the Jets. It was a tough game. The weather was gross, and yet Courtland Sutton went out and he made the plays you need him to make for a rookie quarterback. And he got him the touchdown ball at the end there, so that was nice too.
Huge to get that first touchdown, obviously, for Boa. I think a lot of people were focusing on that, but then you watch the play over and you're like, okay, Court, that was huge for him to go up and get that ball, and that's what they need to do to help this kid out. And I just think they have a special relationship. I loved watching him give him the ball.
Well, earlier this week, I caught up with wide receiver Josh Reynolds to talk about his growing relationship with Bo Nix and how he's preparing to face a division rival. You guys are hosting the Raiders for the first divisional matchup of the season. Is there added motivation when you guys are facing that AFC West rival?
Oh yeah, anybody in our division, man. It's always a game that you're always looking forward to winning and playing against. So it'll be a good matchup.
You and rookie QB Bo Nix have had some explosive plays this season. How have you seen your relationship with him grow over the course of the last 4 weeks?
I think it's more of him getting comfortable out there, being able to deliver the ball, and luckily the ball's been finding me a couple times, but you just never know where the ball will end up. So I've been blessed that it's found me a couple times.
How have you two been able to really develop that chemistry?
Practice, all the way coming up. Going to camp. We've been. Everybody. We've been working, getting extra routes after, and so just practice.
The Raiders rank 8th in third down defense. What is the key to sustaining long drives?
Positive plays. we got to stay above this, ahead of the sticks, and negative plays. It's always hard to get it back going. So I think as long as we eliminate negative plays, I think we'll be all right.
This team gets back to 500 after back-to-back road games. How beneficial is it to be home for back-to-back home games?
It's big, It's big, There's nothing like it playing in front of Broncos country. So, to have that advantage, it'd be nice.
Sunday will be a throwback game, wearing the throwback uniforms from the 1977 season. How special is it to be a part of that?
I think it's awesome. That's history, and so to be able to kind of bring back those colors and these jerseys, it's awesome.
What was your reaction when you saw the helmet?
They're dope. They really are, man. I like the color scheme on them and everything. Actually, my favorite color scheme, that light orange and blue. Yeah, I like it.
Well, look good, feel good, play good, right?
Always.
Appreciate your time, Josh, and we'll see you on Sunday.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Reynolds is really excited for these jerseys, but I think he's more excited to make more plays with his QB.
Yeah, and I think you're going to continue to see these guys get on the same page, make more and more plays. That's what you get from practice. That's what you get when a young quarterback gets more and more comfortable. We saw it with that dagger to Courtland Sutton against the Jets, and Sean Payton said that you're going to need to continue to develop that with a bunch of different receivers, a bunch of different route combinations. Excited to see what that looks like as we keep going.
The more plays these guys help him make, you know what I mean, when they're going out of their way, making these big catches, going up and getting the ball, I feel like the more that builds trust with Bo, that he doesn't need to be spot on with every throw. Hopefully he is, but that's obviously not reality. So I feel like we're continuing to see that chemistry build with more than one guy, which is huge.
When you have these early games and the offense is still kind of finding a way to be consistent, Josh Reynolds has really been consistent, and obviously you're feeding off of Courtland Sutton. This is his first season with this team. How beneficial is it to see a guy come in and just kind of hit the ground running?
Yeah, it's nice, and I think that's why you add him, right, is that you believe that he's a guy that can come in and help your offense right away. He was kind of a late addition there in free agency, but I know a guy that they valued, and obviously a tough passing game against the Jets, but I think you saw in Tampa kind of what addition he can be to this team, and I think we can only expect more as we keep going.
Well, when we come back, Bradey King and Hall of Famer Steve Atwater will break down how cornerback Pat Surtain II has been locking down receivers so far this season. Plus, we'll reveal the numbers you need to know ahead of Week 5. We'll be right back.
Bank better with Broncos checking from Ent Credit Union, the official banking partner of the Denver Broncos.
So happy he's on our team. When you have somebody like that who's able to shut down guys, it makes the whole defense better. And Pat's somebody who makes the whole defense better, not only by his play, but just how his communication and how confident he is out there. And, it just causes us to step up our game and see what we can do to make sure we go out there and give the best too.
Welcome back to Broncos Weekend. That was outside linebacker Jonathan Cooper talking about the impact of Pat Surtain II and how he's been able to be so dominant this season when going against number one receivers. In Week 4, he held Jets wideout Garrett Wilson to 2 receptions for 22 yards on 28 routes. For more, let's send it over to Hall of Famer Steve Atwater and Bradey King.
All right, thanks, Elisa. Last week, we talked a lot about the newer corner, Riley Moss. This week, Steve, we're talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Pat Surtain II, PS2, the lockdown king. Who better to break down the film than you? I mean, let's just get right into this, right?
All right. Well, this particular play, it really highlights how mentally into the game the cornerbacks have to be, especially a guy who takes out the top receivers in Pat Surtain. And you'll see in this particular play here, the fullback moves up to the tight end position, and then this receiver is going to come across in motion, and he has to know, what do I have to do? Am I going to switch off the coverage with Riley Moss? Am I going to stay on my guy? And when the play starts, his guy actually runs to the other side of the field. And if he doesn't have great eyes, he would stay right there and this guy would be gone. But because he knows what he's doing, he takes off right after him. And if he would have been a split second late, this tight end would have picked him and he wouldn't have been able to get over to make this great play for no gain. He accelerates, left shoulder on the ball, almost knocked it out of there, but just a great play.
Steve, obviously you have to have speed and size to play the corner position, but you got to have a lot going on up here as well. How much smarts does it take, football sense does it take to do what Pat does week in and week out?
It takes a lot of film study, a lot of just knowing from playing against different competitors over the years. And he's got it locked in. He's a great student of the game and a great athlete.
Absolutely. He held the Jets receivers, not him alone, but to only 166 yards. They locked down Garrett Wilson. Looked good all day. And Aaron Rodgers threw the ball 42 times on Sunday. So these guys were working overtime. Let's get into the second play here and see what you're seeing.
Okay, well, the second play here, Pat Surtain is lined up right here on the receiver that's in the slot. And normally, these guys are really the shifty wide receivers who are super fast. Mm-hmm. But Pat Surtain, as you can see, he's going to line up on him, and he's going to be in kind of a bump and run type of coverage. And that gives Pat a little bit of an advantage. The other receiver is off the line of scrimmage. And Pat's going to get his inside hand on his chest to slow him down just a bit, just enough for Pat to catch up to him and make the play on the ball. But it takes extreme skill to be able to line up in the slot and make those plays against the smaller, faster receivers. But Pat Surtain does it like no other corner can.
Yeah, let's see this from a different angle. Just seeing exactly where you are as far as where they are lined up and him coming across the
Yes, he's going to be on the left side over here. He's going to come into the picture as he breaks up the ball. He's able to get right on him and get in front of him and get that right hand in front and knock that ball down.
And how difficult is it to be physical? But he has had some pass interference calls this season, up to whoever decides, obviously, those calls. But how tough is it to be physical but also playing the game the right way like he does?
Yeah, well, that's a part of it. You got to be physical in order to play the game anyway, because if you're not physical, they're going to come at you every single time. But he also has the smarts. Again, we talked about that earlier. He has the smarts to play with the best of them. He has the speed to play with the best of them, and he has the physicality. That's a great trio.
Biggest key from you to slow down these Raiders receivers?
Well, our guys just have to play the way they've been playing. I think Riley Moss has been playing good. Jaquan McMillan has been playing well. And also PS2 have been playing well. And the two safeties have been doing well as well. So I think we got a very good secondary here, and they're going to do well.
As always, Steve, appreciate your expertise. Elisa, we'll send it back to you with the numbers you need to know.
Thanks, guys. The Broncos are hosting their first divisional game of the season as they take on the Raiders, the first of 3 home games this month. Going into Week 5, the Broncos and the Raiders are coming off wins. We did a deep dive and we found the numbers you need to know. Bo Nix has made strides over the last 2 weeks, coming off an undefeated road trip. In Week 4, he threw his first career passing touchdown and had no interceptions. Versus the Raiders, he aims to have his 3rd game in a row with 0 interceptions, and with a win can become the first Denver rookie QB ever to start and win 3 straight games. Nix is a dual threat, being able to make plays with his legs. He is one of 6 quarterbacks this season with 100+ rush yards and 2+ rushing TDs. Nix is the 2nd rookie in team history with 100+ rushing yards and 2+ rushing TDs in weeks 1 through 4. The first, Hall of Famer Terrell Davis in 1995. He also took 0 sacks in Week 4. The Raiders are tied for 21st in sacks with 8. The Raiders rank 21st in total defense so far this season. Pat Surtain II has put on a clinic on how to cover the #1 receivers in this league. Through 4 weeks, he has held his opponents to an average of less than 2 catches and 20 yards per game. In Week 1, Surtain shadowed Seahawks wide receiver DK Metcalf 96% of the time, Steelers wideout George Pickens 65%, and Buccaneers wide receiver Mike Evans 71%. In Week 4, Jets wide receiver Garrett Wilson lined up against Pat Surtain on 60.9% of his routes, 28 of his 46 to be exact. Wilson was only able to haul in 2 of his 3 targets for 22 yards. Wilson was held to 0 targets on his first 18 routes, his first target against Surtain coming with 1:42 left in the 3rd quarter. It is unclear who Surtain will line up against on Sunday, but he will be looking to join some elite company. Surtain needs 2 defensive tackles to join cornerback Chris Harris Jr. as the only Broncos in team history to record at least 200 tackles and 35 passes defended in their first 4 seasons. Looking at the running game, the Raiders are coming off a season-high 152 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns versus the Cleveland Browns. The Broncos defense ranks 12th in rushing defense and tied for 2nd in red zone defense. The Raiders have not had consecutive games of 150+ rushing yards since 2022. Jumping to the Broncos backfield, Javonte Williams led the Broncos with 129 rushing yards so far in 2024. The Broncos are one of 2 teams with 4+ players, each with 85+ rushing yards this season. Running backs Javonte Williams and Jaleel McLaughlin are hoping to take advantage that the Raiders rank 24th in rushing defense. When we come back, Denver 7's Bradey King will have your fantasy focus for Week 5, and we'll reveal which players versus the Raiders will call game. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll be right back.
Welcome back into Broncos Weekend. It is time for Fantasy Focus. We've continued to talk about the Broncos' rushing attack and the need for it to be more consistent. Well, we did get to see that in the second half against the Jets. The Broncos running backs ran the ball 25 times on Sunday. Javonte Williams got the majority of carries with 16, Jaleel McLaughlin got 8, and Tyler Bradey got 1 before he left the game with an injury. Williams did lead the group in total yards with 77, 4.8 yards per carry, and he looked a little bit like his old self, earning himself 10 fantasy football points. And after the game, Javonte said he felt great and he's always eager to do whatever he can to help this team win. Williams is averaging 7.7 fantasy points per game, and while his counterpart, Jaleel McLaughlin, chipped in 46 yards this past week, he's averaging 5 fantasy points per game. Now, credit to the Broncos offensive line, who has been key in getting this run game going. Even Quinn Miners received the game ball after the team's Week 4 win over the Jets. Now, in Week 5, they're going up against the Raiders, who are ranked 24th in the league in rushing defense, allowing 137.5 yards per game. So this is a week the Broncos can continue to attack. And the better they can run the ball, the more it helps give rookie quarterback Bo Nix time to throw. And we've all heard the saying, look good, play good, right? Well, the Broncos are going to look great this weekend as they rock their 1977 throwback uniforms for the very first time. We caught up with the team about their excitement for Alumni Weekend.
I think they're awesome. I think anytime you can, pay a little tribute to former teams that have come before you and have, kind of laid the foundation for the opportunity that you have, I think that's really important. And it's fun to, wear throwbacks. I think that's, always a neat thing that teams are able to do, and ours are pretty cool.
Nah, they tight, they dope. I ain't gonna lie, they my favorite uniform combo for sure. You know, I got to come out swaggy this week, put something together. Sure.
Y'all seen them bad boys. Them joints sweet. I'm looking forward to Sunday putting the threads on. I think the thing that's going to be even more exciting and it's going to make the moment even more fulfilled is we go out there and get a win, you know.
Divisional games are always fun, but they're even better when you get to pay tribute to the 1977 season with these amazing throwbacks. The guys seem really excited to wear these on Sunday.
I agree. They are so pretty, you guys. So pretty.
Man, I'm so excited. All the different things the Broncos are going to be doing this weekend with the throwback stuff. They got 1970s music. They got belt buckles for people coming to the game. There's going to be graphics packages. It's going to feel like like you're going back in time.
And inducting a couple guys that wore those uniforms into the Ring of Fame, I think is going to be super cool.
A little more added motivation for these guys to obviously want to be a division rival, but to be able to do it in these kind of uniforms and get Broncos country really excited.
Yeah, I think back to some of these games where you wear alternate jerseys and there's just these iconic moments. I think back to when Peyton Manning broke the record through touchdown 509. They're wearing those Navy jerseys against San Francisco. You never know when it's going to be that next iconic moment. Maybe it's Bo Nix becoming the first Broncos rookie quarterback to win 3 games in a row. Maybe this is one of those games that you look back and it's a big moment. You snap the streak versus the Raiders and you look good while doing it.
Amen. Safe to say we won't see the guys trading these uniforms. Court said it would take a very, 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 very special person for him to trade uniforms.
All right, well, it's time for Call Game. Each week, our amazing guests will pick a player that they think will play well against the upcoming matchup and call game. It is week 5. The first divisional game of the season, playing against the Raiders. So I have to ask our guests, who do you guys have calling game?
Well, I thought I was going to luck out and only do this once, and I went with Pat Surtain last week. Unfortunately, got to do another one. I'm going to go with Troy Franklin, the rookie wide receiver. We've seen Bo Nix look deep a couple times trying to connect with him. I think this is the week that he finally connects on a big one. No rain this week, no gross weather. Just maybe air one out and have Troy Franklin get a really deep reception, maybe a touchdown that helps decide the game.
I like that. I'm going to go on the defense side of things and go with Nick Bonito. He got a sack last week against Aaron Rodgers, which, like you said, that doesn't happen very often. So I'm thinking he's going to build off that here back at home in the sick uniforms in much better weather.
All right, guys. Well, there you have it. We will see on Sunday who calls game, and you can let us know who you have calling game. So make sure you guys tweet us. For Denver 7's Bradey King, Broncos lead writer Aric DiLalla, and Hall of Famer Steve Atwater, I am your host and team reporter Elisa Hernandez, and this is Broncos Weekend. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.